Hello students, this is Sriram Shastri. I once again welcome you to my video session on evolution. So evolution is a very important aspect related to our own life and also the diversity of this earth itself. Okay, the living forms present on this earth, which are a diverse form of animals and plants and other organisms. How might have they originated and how would their diversity what do you call as originate, that we'll understand in this topic in detail. So without wasting our time, we'll start with the first introduction part of this topic, that is origin of life. So how did life originate? If you talk about few things related to how did life originate, so first thing is origin of life we'll talk about. So there are different theories which have been put forth for origin of life. These are some of them which are very important for your entrance exams and also to understand evolution. So don't only study exam oriented things. Okay, knowledge is eternal, so it does not die. If you know the things very correctly, clearly, and you if you understand the subject properly, then there is no need of remembering it. If you understand, you automatically remember it. And if when you remember it, for you to answer the questions in any kind of an examination, any kind of a field you are in, it will be better. So better to understand the things rather than to just read and practice the things. Okay, so first of all, if you talk about the origin of universe, it's also called as the Abel-Lemaitre hypothesis of Big Bang. So the Big Bang theory, not that Big Bang what we are talking about, but this is a scientific theory of Big Bang. So according to this theory, there was a thermonuclear explosion in the universe, and then the origin of universe started. There were celestial gaseous bodies which started to form, and they are moving, and the space is expanding like anything. Today also, day by day, the universe is expanding. There is no starting or ending point for it. So this was proposed by Mr. Abel-Lemaitre. Then same way, its continuation is in nebular hypothesis, a gaseous ball from which the solar systems originated. It's called as nebular hypothesis, and this nebular hypothesis was explained by Kant and Laplace. Okay, so Kant and Laplace, nebular hypothesis. So basically, if you talk about one thing, I would like to tell you here. So one thing what I would like to tell you here is about the earth originated around 4.6 to 5 billion years ago. Okay, so approximately 4.6 billion years ago or around 5 billion years ago, the earth originated. The life still did not originate there. For origin of life, there were different theories being put forth. So many of them which we have to discuss today are: first is theory of special creation. So when earth was formed, when the solar system was formed, the life originated due to different reasons. But the first theory which is being explained in evolution is theory of special creation. Now this theory has what you call a scientific backup. For this theory is not been explained, or we cannot consider this theory because there are so many thousands of religions on this planet earth, and every religion has a particular theory for explaining the origin of life on earth. Now, because it was not scientifically so appropriate to be considering this theory in evolution, there were other people who proposed new theories, like theory of eternity is one. Okay, so this theory of eternity was supported by Pluto and Hale. Okay, so theory of eternity says that the life was existing on earth from, we don't know when it was started, and it will continue to exist like this only. That means life is eternal. There is no such thing called as evolution. Life was existing, is existing, and will be existing. Only the forms will change. So this type of theory was being explained as theory of eternity. But theory of eternity does not hold good to tell the process of evolution which has occurred, and the explanation, the basic explanation for that is missing in this. Again, new people came up with a new theory called catalysm or catastrophic theory. It is also called as. According to this theory, this is opposite of eternal theory. Okay, इसमें क्या होता है, they tell that, after every big event, there was a big catastrophe or big destruction. After every destruction, new life originated. It continued for a few years or few million years, we can say. Again, there was a catastrophism. Again, everything washed out. Again, new what you call as organisms originated. Again, this also does not seem to be correct, because there are many animals which are existing from billions of years without any modifications, right? So scientific what you call as evaluation of these theories does not hold so good, so they are not considered as a correct theory. Again, if you talk about catastrophic theory, it was being supported by George Cuvier and Alcide Aubigny. Okay. Then if you talk about cosmozoic theory, now this cosmozoic theory is also called as panspermia, theory of panspermia or sporulation theory. According to Richter and Arrhenius, they were the major supporters of this theory. They say that with meteors, some celestial bodies, when they break up large stone like the what do you call it, cluster of stones like things are formed, asteroids and meteors. Some meteors or asteroids, they hit to Earth's surface, which brought certain spores to this planet Earth, and then life originated. Again, there is certain class of people till today who still believe that life might have originated in this way, but majority of the people do not accept theory of panspermia, because in space, in vacuum, the existence of life, the existence of spores to reach the earth's surface with such a what you call as atmospheric friction, the burning, etc., with such a great difference in the environmental factors, the existence of spores may not be possible. And if even if the spores were there in meteors, before they hit to earth, usually most of them are burn off. Some of them may hit the earth's surface, but again, they do not have viability or a living condition to continue evolution on this planet. But again, I said, some class of people still believe in this theory, because again, if you uh, if the meteors are studied properly, in certain meteors they have found certain algae like organisms. ऐसा हुआ है, some people have what you call as discovered algae like microorganisms on the surface of asteroids and meteors. But still, we exactly do not consider this theory, because again, from space, when spores are traveling, they lose their viability. They cannot live in the space, and if they reach the earth also, they would not have continued the life on earth's surface. Again, apart from cosmozoic theory, spontaneous theory, this theory is very interesting. The theory of spontaneous generation, it is also called as theory of abiogenesis. Okay, so it was supported by Thales, Newton, and so on and so forth. There were many people who supported this theory. According to this theory, people say that life on earth spontaneously originated, suddenly, spontaneously. Okay, ऐसा अर्थ बन गया और अर्थ पे लाइफ ओरिजिनेट हो गया. कैसे? बता, नॉन लिविंग थिंग्स से. So life originated from non-living things spontaneously. This was the explanation under theory of abiogenesis. Now, if you consider this theory also, it's not so exactly correct. So a modern what do you call as wooden pot, or a mud pot kept with food grains covered with dirty cloth would spontaneously generate mice. These things, these stories seem to be more superstitious than more scientific. Again, to disprove this theory, there was an experiment done by three people, that is Francis Reddy, Spallanzani, and Louis Pasteur. These three people, they put forth a new theory called as biogenesis, or the statement of their theory biogenesis is life originates from pre-existing life. Now beta, question ये है कि life originate कैसे हुआ? But these people understood the question probably half. It's a joke to just make the what you call as conditions of study lighter. I have made it. Okay, so the question was, how did life originate? But these people told that life originates from pre-existing life. No doubt it's correct, but again, it did not answer completely the question that how might have life originated. For that, they had done experiment also. They had, one of the famous experiment is swan necked flask experiment of Louis Pasteur, where he had taken certain broth in a conical flask. He bent its neck into a swan neck shape, and one was closed with a cotton plug, the other one was kept as it is without any cotton plug. The bacteria culture in both the flasks were heated, and both of them got killed. But the one which was closed with the cotton plug, generally the spores from air could not reach the broth once again and the bacteria did not grow in it. Whereas the other one which was open, there bacteria once again grew. So growing of bacteria was something that from previously existing organisms, new organisms are born. That was the concept which was told. Again, the Magot's experiment also everybody knows, three flasks with pieces of flesh. One was covered with a mesh, the other one was covered with a, what you call as a completely muslin cloth, and the other one was open. The one which was open, there were more maggots in it. The one which was with mesh, it had some limited maggots in it. The one which was closed with muslin cloth had no maggots in it. Again, house flies used to reach the flesh, and the eggs are laid on the flesh, because we know the maggots of housefly or coprophagous, they feed on dead animals and flesh, right? So this theory again explains that these maggots originated from housefly. That means life originates from pre-existing life. But again, the question remains there itself, that how might have that previously existing life originate? So to properly explain this theory, it took a lot of time. There was another theory, that is biogenesis, which was explained by them, but again it also could not hold so good to explain the process of origin of life. So there were another few people who came up with new ideas, that is Haeckel, who came up with an idea that life might have originated from certain chemicals. This idea was being again put forth as a hypothesis by two intelligent people of those days, that is A.I. Oparin and J.B.S. Haldane. Okay, so Oparin and Haldane's theory will continue now. Just give me a second. So, continuation of the topic is Oparin and Haldane's theory. This was the modern, it is also called as modern theory of evolution or modern theory of origin of life. Now, Oparin and Haldane, they were very intelligent, and they described the surface of Earth, primordial Earth. They use the word called as primordial Earth, which means the Earth before the life originated. The conditions of primordial Earth were completely different from what we have today. So I would like to tell you this theory in a very simplified story like thing, so that you can remember it forever. So around say approximately 4.6 billion years ago, the earth originated, right? Around 4.6 or 5 billion years ago, the earth originated. It was a molten ball of lava. It slowly started spinning around its own axis, and slowly, because the space is vacuum, it started cooling. It formed the crust, the mantle, and the core, what we have today also. Some people believe the temperature of earth was around 6000 to 7000 degrees celsius at that time. Majority of the scientists believe that it was between 900 to 1000, not more than that. Okay, so still many people believe many things, but we approximately must know these two figures, that some people believe 5000 to 6000, some people believe 900 to 1000 degrees celsius was the temperature. Slowly it started cooling. Okay, so when it started cooling, there was no atmosphere at that time. The earth was just a molten lava, a ball of molten lava. Again, when the crust was formed, slowly there were some gases released into the atmosphere, which was not atmosphere at that time, but because of the spinning of the ball, it created certain attraction and formed the primitive layer of gases around it. We can call it as primordial atmosphere. Now this primitive atmosphere of earth, in the primordial earth, had several gases like methane, ammonia, and water vapors. Okay, so they did not have gases like oxygen. They did not have gases like free gases were not available. Whatever solid substances were there, they were present in the earth's crust, and whatever gaseous were there, they were not in their free forms, because of higher temperature and different biological conditions, which were not biological at that time, geological, we can say geological conditions. Certain chemicals interacted with themselves and formed certain primitive compounds like methane, ammonia, and water vapors. There was no oxygen in the atmosphere at that time, so it was called as a reducing atmosphere. So it was called as a reducing atmosphere. Reducing atmosphere means only reduction reactions were possible. Oxidation was not possible, as oxygen was absent from the primitive atmosphere. Now, slowly, because of the water vapors and other gases formed atmosphere, and there was formation condensation process, they formed clouds, and the clouds slowly started precipitating. They started raining, and the cooling of Earth was not even. As we know, the Earth surface, what we see in a globe, is not the right thing. It's an uneven surface with so many what we call as ups and downs on it. So uneven cooling of Earth was taking place at the time, and along with that, it started raining. Okay, so raining and collision of clouds produced thunder. The electric discharge, which is released as a thunder, that energy was absorbed by these chemicals, and they, with the rainfall, formed furthermore primitive uh, pre-biomolecules, we can say, or microbiomolecules, like certain fatty acids were formed, certain what you call as lipids were formed, fatty acids, lipids, certain simple glycerols, certain amino acids, and slowly they formed the colloidal substances in the water bodies. So as we know, the earth's surface was very hot. The life could not have originated terrestrially. The water which was collected in the uneven ditches, or the regions where the what you call as uh, possibility of collecting of water was there, in those regions the rainwater got collected. It did not occur in 1 or 2 days. This is a story of millions of years or billions of years. This happened in millions of years in continuation. So these molecules, they got collected into the water. Again, the water was then called as hot dilute soup of life. Okay, so hot dilute soup of life, this term was used for the primitive water bodies by Oparin and Haldane. Okay, so this hot dilute soup of life, they started producing certain colloidal substances which are called as coacervates. Coacervates slowly developed into protobions, protobions to prebions, eubions, then primitive archaebacteria like organisms, then archaebacteria, eubacteria, eukaryota, and further they evolved into the 3 domains and 5 kingdoms. So presently, whatever diversity we have is a result of this type of an inorganic evolution. Now, we cannot say this evolution has occurred from living things. This was from non-living things. So it's a kind of abiogenesis only, but life originated from chemicals is a very correct word to be used. So this theory is also called as modern theory of evolution of life, or modern theory of origin of life. It's also called as chemogenesis or chemical evolution of life. Clear? So 4.6 billions of years ago, the lava ball was there. It started cooling. It released gases. Clouds were formed. Raining started. It collided. Thunder was produced. That thundering electric discharge was used by certain chemicals. They formed certain primitive microbiomolecules. Then they formed macrobiomolecules, coacervates to certain what you call as probionts, proteinoids, probionts, nucleic acids, and they form primitive cell-like structures, protobionts we can say, then eubionts, then archaebacteria-like organism, then eubacteria-like organism, and then slowly they develop into eukaryotes. Further they evolved. That is a different story. So this theory was very much acceptable, but still there was no experimental proof for it. But there was a person who experimentally also tested this with the same conditions which were explained by Mr. Oparin and Haldane. The name of the person who experimented on this was Stanley Miller. So Stanley Miller had developed an apparatus called spark discharge apparatus, or also called as Miller's apparatus after his name, and he experimentally proved that evolution of life or origin of life had occurred from chemicals. So in the modern days, the most accepted theory for origin of life is chemogenesis or chemical evolution of life. So with this topic, I would like to stop it here itself. In the next video session, we'll continue with the Stanley Miller's experiment and the further topics of chapter evolution. I hope you might have understood. Thank you. Thank you very much.